What is up, everybody? My name is Gainar, and this is basically going to be my first episode of the series that I'm making. I haven't got a name for it, so I thought I'd let you guys decide in the comments below. Write the name that you think what the series should be called. It's basically going to be talking about anything that I found to be successful in the game, and this time round it's Demolition on Cracked, because I've had about 4 matches now where this strategy has proved successful. Unfortunately, in this gameplay that I've got, I don't actually use the tactics. Well, actually, I use some of them, but not all of them. But on the screen now, you can basically see the perk setups for offensive and defensive, and some of them are obvious, like lightweight, sleight of hand, and marathon, but others like hacker and flak jacket aren't. Well, maybe flak jacket is, because if you're jumping on the bombs, you know, they might nade it, and flak jacket generally will save you the majority of the time. But for hacker, the reason I've got that there is because you want to detect their equipment, things like claymores, especially when you're taking over buildings to push their spawn back. And yeah, on the defensive side, scavenger, tactical mask, those are really good things so they can't flush you out as easily, and steady aim for the close quarter battles. And second chance, the reason I put that there, it might be a bit of a controversial thing to put there, but I basically put that there because if you drop down, you know, if you're in a wall somewhere and you're behind cover partly and they shoot you, you go down, you can crawl back and maybe get revived by your teammates, especially, well, if you have second chance pro, I believe you do need second chance pro to do that, but it's pretty easy to get, and that's a really useful perk, especially if you want to keep a high KD. But that's pretty much the perks, so pause it if you want to look at them all in detail, but I've basically just outlined the ones that you all really need to survive in this. And hardline will be great because you'll be able to build up the kill streaks, and likewise on the offensive you'll need ghost, because I imagine the enemy team will be able to build up kill streaks quite fast. And yeah, that's pretty much it, so I'll move on to the next part. Okay, so forgive the bad graphics, but I think it does do the job. This is my first time doing this, so forgive me if it looks a bit rustic. But basically, the green ticks mean you need to control that building, or at least in my opinion you do. And I think the call out for the ones on the left is broken building. And yeah, so you can kind of see where it is. You can see the A bomb there in the middle of the highway, street, or whatever you want to call it. And that's where the enemy will spawn in the red, because you'll force them out of where they originally used to spawn, and yeah, control those buildings. You'll pretty much control the map, stop them from getting onto the highway, and it'll be pretty much downhill from there. With the one on the right, I don't think you necessarily need to hold it, but it would be a good idea to make sure you can catch them coming from all angles. And yeah, it's pretty easy once you've got control of those buildings to hold them in that spawn, and eventually, you know, the bomb goes off, and you've done it. Okay, so this is the B-bomb site, and as you can see, there are 2 buildings I recommend locking down. If you're up against a good team, you could maybe even just hold it down with that building that is sort of in the mid-right, next to the lorry. I did that in the gameplay, you'll see in a minute, and it worked out pretty well. But if you're up against a good team, you'll probably need all 3 of these buildings. The one with the orange tick basically means, as I said before, if you're up against a good team, I would advise locking that one down, because then it would stop them flanking around, you know, onto the highway and maybe moving around to B. But generally, teams, just unorganized teams at least, just tend to rush out of that spawn area. And as you can see, the spawn area has moved. That's because if you're around the B area, they'll be pushed back to their initial spawn where they spawned during the game. But anyway, let's move on to the next part of this video. So as you can see, this segment is basically going to be about camera spikes and where to locate them. There's 2 possible spaces I'd recommend, and the first one's pretty easy to get to on the offensive side, and I'll also show you how to get to it in the defensive side, and also just how to get into that broken building. Anyway, you know, run onto the car, jump up here. You may have seen this on other videos anyway, but I'm just showing you just to make sure you know. And also there's just one at B that you'll see in a second. These are just the spots I found most effective. I've used them once or twice and no one's really seen the camera. So let's move on to the next part of the video anyway. Okay, so last and not least is the gameplay. Apologies if this video is getting a bit too long. It's basically because it's, you know, educational, and I want you 2 guys to get the full aspect of it. Maybe suggest what you want to see next time with this series, and also remember to leave a name for it, because I really do need a name for it. And I'll be reading all the comments and checking those out. So as you can see, I'm playing with almost a full party, and I do get a first prestige on my team, which is pretty nice. It generally means that he's a hardcore player, unless you got this game early, but then again, I probably assume that he didn't, because most people don't usually play the game online, because the servers aren't even turned on until you know, generally a day or so before release. So being first prestige this early on, I think this was recorded on like the 15th. So it was generally like the 3rd day, I think it was, yeah, the 3rd day it was released. And as you can see here, we're pretty much using the strategy I outlined earlier to take B. Kieran goes into that building. Well, I think he moves on to it in a minute, actually, after he plants the bomb. And I'm just waiting to see if anyone else is going to rush through here. And Kieran takes that guy out, so I cover him. And I go into that building next to the lorry. And as you'll see in a second, their spawn switches exactly to where I showed you it would. And they start coming through the, I think it's the alleyway. I'm not really sure what the shout-outs are. Maybe that would be a good idea to leave that in the comments. But we don't really have control of the A bomb site at the moment. I think that's what my other teammates were trying to do, kind of... I think they do it about 4 minutes into this video. Or the gameplay. The video's already gone over 4 minutes, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, and it makes it really, really easy. I mean, look what I'm doing here. Kieran has the other side, or at least I think he might have died, actually, and he's coming back round. But as you can see, they're in broken building, which doesn't really surprise me. And I was going to move out of this building as soon as B blew up, but I decided I might as well try and get my chopper gunner, because that's going to really help us, and it does help us. I actually fast-forwarded through it because I thought it would be a good idea just to do that, because it's kind of boring to watch. But yeah, if you get a chopper gunner or even a gunship, and you can't get it, guys, just call out where they are, because it really does help. And that's what I do. I call out where they all are, and my teammates generally know that the A bomb site is safe. And then I call out there's a guy running through the building, and he almost gets to A, but luckily my teammates stop him because of the call out. And in a minute you'll see me. I think I take control of the broken building. I'm not really sure what the call out is. So yeah, leave that in the comments if you do know. And also remember to leave the name of what you think the series should be called, because I really want to know what you guys think. And there's my chopper gunner right there. So I'm just generally waiting for more of them to come round, because I know they're spawning in this area. And as you can see, as my teammates took control of broken building, they started spawning in this area where I highlighted earlier. And yeah, that pretty much proves my theory. And as I'm moving around here, there's kind of just, I think the spawns went a bit sporadic, because we're all kind of spaced out of this area, and I was coming through there. I'm not really sure how I got caught out here. I got told that there was someone on the bomb site, so I immediately rushed through there to get an aid on it, and I do here now, but I don't get a kill, so I assume there's no one on it, which there isn't. And that moves us on to the next round, and I actually have the chopper gunner ready, as I explained earlier, and I call out where they all are. You'll kind of be able to see my mic talking while I'm in the chopper gunner, and I list out pretty much where everyone is. But there is a guy, I think 1 or 2 guys that have cold-blooded, or a ghost as it's called in this game, actually. But yeah, there's a guy with ghost, I have to remember that. There's a guy with ghost, and he slips through, but I think I see him, but I can't get him. I think it's because of the angle, and I call out where he is, and sure enough, they get killed. But as you can see here, most of them are just, trapped inside their spawn, which is kind of expected. And this leads on to a pretty easy round for this game. And I guess the other round was pretty easy as well. But yeah, the video's kind of getting a bit close to... Oh, and here's the point. I think I get an RC car in my care package. And I wanted to make a point on RC cars. I wouldn't recommend... I know a lot of people find them fun and everything, but I wouldn't recommend using an RC car over something like UAV. UAV, if you put hardline on, it's a 2 kill streak, and that's kind of the only kill streak that builds onto others other than the, what's it called? I think it's Blackbird, yeah. The Blackbird and the UAV, the most useful for building up to an 11 or 9 kill streak. And yeah, so run UAV if you're playing a game like Demolition or Domination, because it's really useful, and it shows your whole team where the enemy are, makes it much easier. And with an RC car, you're generally only going to get about 1 or 2 kills at the most. I mean, I've seen a quad a couple of times, but that's just generally luck of, the team rushing through one area at a time. And as you can see there to the right, I just passed where you can jump up into this building. So if someone was smart enough, they could have easily flanked us and come through that central building. But around this time, we all know that the game is pretty much over, because, there's 15 seconds left on the clock, or even less than that now. And we can see the enemy on the UAV, and so my teammates are just pushing forward to get as many kills as possible, really, because that's kind of what you do. But anyway, the game is wrapped up, so I hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to rate the video. This was my first episode, so I thought it went okay. I did the commentary and segments, if you didn't notice. I'm pretty sure you would have, though. But other than that, guys, thanks for watching very much, and be sure to rate the video. As I said, it does take a kind of a lot of effort. I did have to do the art myself, which I know wasn't that great, but it still takes a bit of time and effort to do that, more than a regular commentary. But yeah, the game's over, so I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys later.